Welcome to this very interesting conversation on Nation Online Television on a book that was written a while ago that requires a revival in terms of engaging in its historical and intellectual contents. The book is titled Aristocratic Rebel, the biography of MD Yusuf, and it was put together by a well-known politician, democracy activist, and journalist and lawyer, Ayo Okpadokun. You're welcome to this very interesting conversation, sir.
It's a pleasure to be with you.
Now, thank you. You wrote this book quite a while ago.
Right.
That was 2006.
Right.
And it has raised a lot of issues here that seems to have been glossed over time. And I thought that having read it, that they require some form of re-engagement.
Okay.
That is why. So the first thing I will ask is, what was your relationship with MD Yusuf? MD Yusuf used to be an Inspector General of the Nigerian police and a very constant force during the time of the military, even reaching out to civilian times. So I want you to tell us your relationship with him and why you decided to do this book.
Well, I had my first encounter and engagement with Alhaji Muhammad Diko Yusuf, former Inspector General of Police, through my friend, the late Etibon Basi Epo Basi, who was the former mayor of Calabar Municipal, a political activist, trade unionist, journalist like me. He was the one who took me to MD Yusuf's house. And since that day, we got connected. And I found him to be, not only to be a decent, respectable, decent, elderly person, I was also fascinated by his professionalism. From my interaction with him and what I've eventually read all over, there could not have been another MD Yusuf to preside over the Nigerian police. The credibility that he brought into that office, the professionalism that he brought into that office, the sense of accurate judgment that he brought into that office was unbelievable, matchless. And since he left, I'm not sure the Nigerian police had gotten another one. He was privileged to be on the spot at critical moment of Nigerian history all over until he passed to the great beyond.
Yes, and one of those critical moments was during the Western Nigerian crisis of the 1960s, around 1962, 63, 64, 65. It was around at that period. And he reveals through you in this book that they had a meeting with Sir Kashim Brian and then Ahmadu Bello, the Sardauna of Sokoto, just on the eve of the coup, apparently led by Kaduna Zogu. Can you tell us what he said in that book?
Well, let me correct one thing that you have just said now. it was a fact that Kaduna Nzogu led the coup in Kaduna State. But the real 1966 coup itself was led by Emmanuel Ifeanyi. The Commonwealth
I said
medalist.
apparently. I use the word advisedly. Right on the surface. That's what it is. That's what I mean apparently.
Okay.
That's why I use the word apparently. So it's still a debate. It's still a debate
but there's no debate about it. The facts are there. Emmanuel, the police intelligence report have it clearly spelled out. Emmanuel Ifeanyi had been influenced by Major Odumegu Ojukwu, who was the commandant of the 5th Battalion in Kano, to get into action. And he had held 2 series of meetings in his Apapa residence with his immediate coup plotters before they even engaged. One of them engaged Nzogu into the affairs.
Now we'll come back to that. Right. Yes. So what I wanted you to talk about first,
right, is
the fact that Sir Kashim Ibrahim had a conversation with Ahmadu Bello, that they held a meeting, that the North that was behind Ladoke Akintola decided that they were going to abandon Ladoke Akintola, and the conversation took place in the North.
Right. That was a fact. The fact of the matter was that MD Yusuf was already the commissioner of police in charge of the northern region. So he knew that the caucus of the MPC, principally Alhaji Makamabida, Alhaji Katagum, Alhaji Inua Wada, and Kashim, they already had this meeting just before Sir Ahmadu Bello went on a pilgrimage.
We have to correct one thing here, that NPC is just not NPC, it's the Northern People's Congress, the political party that held sway all over the North.
All over New York State, Northern People's Congress.
In the First Republic.
Of course, yes. So they held a meeting. They said from every intelligent information they had and from the political interaction they had, the Westerners don't want to have anything to do with Akintola, that he was being propped up by Sadana to spite them. Therefore, they said Sadana should call Akintola and tell him that they will not have anything to do with him again, because they don't want to. They did not want to have the Yoruba people blame them for the crisis that was ongoing in Western region. So that was the thing. Sadana now asked them to allow him to go to Hajj and on return, that he would then call Akintola to come over so that they could tell him.
Now there was an implication to that. If the coup had not taken place the next day, because he was in Sokoto, Kaduna, it was there, and then they flew back the day before the coup.
Yes.
The day before the coup.
Before the coup.
Yes, the day. So the decision to actually abandon him and leave him to his own devices, they actually said, according to his own report, that he should go and resolve his matter with his own people.
Right.
Does it not look like a situation where we have created a problem for you already, and then we want to say, go there and kill yourself?
No, well, the truth of the matter is that which we must remind ourselves of is the fact that the caucus of the Northern People's Congress had their reservations, and they didn't want a situation where the Yoruba nation will continue to look at the MPC as the antagonist that was fomenting and backing rebellion against the popular leader of Yoruba land.
But they had already done it. They already declared a state of emergency.
They had a reason, a duty. They wanted to correct that because already there were information. They were already having intelligence reports about the critical nature of disquietness in the land. And since they were the ruling class in the country, they wanted a situation where they could stabilize the country.
Well, but do you think that, given what has happened, the step they took was not the right step? They should have also come out in public to say it and also apologize, or is it that they didn't have time?
They never had time again because the thing that happened so rapidly. Because
the coup took place.
The coup took place, and come to think of it, the coup could have taken place earlier on, before even Sadana left for Hajj. But because Nigeria was hosting the Commonwealth head of state, President Makarios was still in Nigeria. He even went to Enugu, so he had not left the country. But already, you know, the MPC federal government are taking a decision to unleash a serious military incursion to prevent a continuation of the Operation Wetye in Western region and Lagos. So they've already set their own date for the target when the army will move in. So the coup plotters, therefore, in order to prevent that, went into offensive.
Okay. Now, the other thing that became very clear was why, if they knew about the coup, because it says here, and we see that as a strain in the whole book, that all the coups that took place in Nigeria were not actually as secret. The coup plots were not really as secret as they were presented to us in history, and that they were actually in the open place, as Yusuf says, as you have recorded in this book, that they had concrete evidence that even if Virginia was talking to soldiers. So why do you think they didn't do anything about it?
The ones in government were always not sure of the capacity and the reach of those who wanted to upstage them. So they were always in that crisis as to what step to take. And at each session, they never succeeded in taking it until those who wanted to overrun them eventually struck. For example, in the case of Aguyi Rossi, the information was passed on to him, and what he did was to start now promoting certain people to position to assuage the feeling of northerners. He now made Lieutenant Colonel Yakubu Gawan chief of staff, made some other promotions. Major Murtala Mohammed was promoted temporary lieutenant colonel and made him virtually director of signals. This was all to appease them. But what was on in the land was graver than such tokenism. So the thing was that Ironsi never knew. He was blinded by his own ethnic caucus that was around him. They led him into a very terrible corner and held him by the gulag there. For example, the sacked ministers coordinated by the late K.O. Badiwe, while the constituted his caucus, along with the president of the Senate, Charles Dade Yama and co. They were the ones giving him advice as to what to do, to show, which eventually crystallized to show the ethnic configuration of what eventually happened on January 15. For example, in his first act, when he was going to set up a committee to oversee what he was going to do about the shaping Nigeria, before he eventually promulgated Decree 34, the permanent secretary, federal permanent secretary he appointed to coordinate that was also an Igbo man. So everything around about him was eventually indicated ethnicization, which really could be traced to important historical factor. 1938 or 1942, Papa Charles Dadi Oyama went to the Igbo State Union and said, Igbo State Union then, and said that the leadership of Nigeria had been given by God to the Igbo race. It was just a question of time. About 4 or 5 years thereafter, Nnamdi Azikiwe too went to the same Igbo State Union and said the same thing. So, in other words, they saw themselves really as being given the leadership of Nigeria by God.
Some people have said that was it deliberate ethnicization, or was it just that they were naive? Because that was what they said of the Decree 34. But we'll come to that. We'll go back to this issue of coups, because it's a strain throughout the history of the military in Nigeria. The coup that removed Gowon out of Muritala Mohammed was also well known. Gowon was even told before he traveled to Kinshasa.
Yes.
By the MD Yusuf.
Yes,
that look, go and talk to your brigade of guards. That is also part of it, and he ignored it.
He called Garba, and because Garba and him, they were from the same place, and they had trusted in him, and they were, in fact, Garba's wife and Gowon's wife were friends. They were classmates. So the relationship between them had been like blood relations. So Gowon thought his life had always been in the hand of Joe Garuba. Yeah. So if Joe Garuba, he could trust Joe Garuba. If he decided to be part of anything, it was before whatever he thought was right. So Gowon did not believe that Joe Garuba
and he told them, but he even told him, that's MD Yusuf, even told Gowon that I've had an altercation with Murtala Mohammed over this issue. And he didn't deny it. And other officers also knew about it. Was it Azan Kassina? Azan Kassina knew about it. Azan Kassina said, I'm not going to be part of it. I know you guys are plotting, but count me out. I'm not going to be part of it. Same thing with the Dimka coup. They knew about him. MD Yusuf traced the story to Dimka's house, and they said, oh, that womanizer and drunk, forget him, he can't do anything.
Exactly. What I said to you that underlying the attitude has been that the ones in power have never been too sure of the reach, the expansion, the popularity, and the powers of these
even the competence.
The competence of these plotters, how strong they were, so that if they confronted them, perhaps it will lead to bloodshed. So they were always agonizing as to what best to do in the circumstance, and they never succeeded in doing so until they were overthrown each time. Look at the case of Babangida during his palace coup.
Yes.
For the last 3 months to that, he stopped going to the Supreme Military Council meeting.
Yes.
Yet, when Buhari was asked to take steps,
He didn't do anything.
He didn't do anything. The Idi Agbon, who was the real power behind the throne, wanted to come and wanted to go to return from Hajj
to come and deal with them.
Before to do
so
it.
They struck.
What they did was, first of all, they've removed Babangida's very close confidant, Ali Guso, that he had been indicted over the fact that he was allegedly involved in rice importation. The license given to Medelibe, he was the one doing it. And when he was confronted, he said, but it was the money realized from that importation with which you financed the coup that brought you into office. So it has always been that the ones in power have always been unable to establish the veracity, the capacity of those who wanted to stage coup against them. In an effort not to do self-injury, they never
achieved self-injury.
Exactly. Exactly.
Well, the other issue is the involvement of Ojukwu in the 1966 coup. MD Yusuf believes that Ojukwu was part of it, and then when it happened, Ojukwu was trying to play the two sides to know whether it was going to succeed. If it was going to succeed, it would be with the coup plotters, and if it didn't succeed, it would be with Ironsi. And he kept calling Ironsi to find out what was the update. And Ojukwu was believed to have chickened out.
Really, it was not only MD Yusuf who knew that. From this book, it was clear that Hassan Kassina knew that he was. The coup plotters themselves knew that he was part of them. That was why Owachegu had to exclaim, because when after the coup, Nzogu needed to pay staff salaries, both military and civilians, and they knew the central bank was in Kano.
Yes.
They thought Ojukwu as part of them will be able to organize for them to be able to take money out of the central bank in Kano. He did dispatch Obasanjo and Obasanjo
and Suleiman.
No, that Suleiman was the captain who flew the military aircraft to Kano. And then they were detained by Ojukwu. So all that he was playing safe. To know which side will win. He was ready.
Doesn't mean that Obasanjo also knew about it.
He knew, but he was not involved. He was not. They said, like Ademoyiga told me personally in his life, that he was a colorless person they could not confide in. So, but when he was
Obasanjo.
Yes, that he was a colorless person to whom they could not confide in to do anything serious of that nature. So, but when they started doing it, they just called him in, come and just to be an instrument. An emissary.
That's an interesting one. Now there was also a claim by Yusuf that Okpara, the premier of the Eastern region, was also an instigator of the coup. Why would he do that when he will be a victim?
Why
would he do that? Would he be an instigator of the coup? Because he said that Okpara knew what those boys were also working with him.
Yes.
The coup plotter.
Yes.
Yeah, why would he become part of it when he was not going to benefit from it?
Why will he not benefit from it?
How would he benefit from it?
You remember that he led the OPGA campaign.
United Progressive Grand Alliance.
We
have to express. To
United
analyze.
Progressive Grand Alliance.
Yes.
Which was formed in an alliance of the NCNC and the remnants of the Action Group.
Yes.
And the purport of that was to have a strong opposition to the NPC, which they eventually merged with NDDP and became NNA, Nigerian National Alliance.
Yes,
Eh?
NNA, yes.
Okay. Now,
it was NPC
and NNDP.
NNDP, okay, Kintola's party, yes.
Now, when they could not do much because the NPC in power made sure that the electoral management body were programmed to make sure that the electoral officers who gave out electoral forms to the contestants were not available to collect the forms of nomination of most candidates of the action group in Western region.
Yes.
That's why most people, NNDP people, were returned unopposed. The fact that the way it was going, ballot box was not
sacrosanct.
They had to find another means, of really getting into office. And you find out that his position clearly was demonstrated by what Emmanuel Ifejuna did when they concluded their meeting and they assigned responsibilities. If Zogu was going to operate entirely in the north, Ifejuna was going to operate in Lagos. They asked Nzogu asked Ifejuna who was going to operate in Enugu and Asaba. Emmanuel Ifejuna asked them to leave those places for him. And because they knew that Okpara was their own man, it stood to benefit if they eventually succeeded. And you know, as soon as they finished, Ifejuna finished doing all that he did here, killed everybody that wanted to kill here.
He went there, but he didn't touch Okpara.
No, he did. He went to Enugu first of all, and they did all the marathon meetings that they were going to do, and it was from there he proceeded to Ghana.
Who proceeded to Ghana?
Ghana.
Yeah.
It was from Enugu that he proceeded to go to Ghana.
Yeah.
And lo and behold, remember that because of the treatable felony, Eji Koku escaped and was with Nkrumah. And
yeah, now the point is, what I'm saying here is, what was Okpara's matter in the coup? How was he going to benefit?
Well, but I've told you now that you see, he was leader of the opposition.
Yes, it was his own that he wanted everything to come down.
Yes, so that they could be in ascendancy.
So did it mean that they wanted to hand over to civilian?
Of
they
course.
believe that they will hand over to civilian.
Yeah, exactly.
And then it will
no matter what,
it will be installed.
No, you see, there was this really undocumented, credit worthy view that they wanted to stage the coup and hand over to Awolowo. There was nothing to suggest that.
Who are they going to hand over to?
Really, that is left to conjecture. But if you knew the chemistry of those who masterminded the coup, civilian-wise, you need the leader. Okpara was an effective leader. So the possibility was that the thing that Charles Oyama and Azikiwe has said, that the leadership of Nigeria has been handed over to by God to the Igbo race, but it's a question of time. Maybe they could have walked through Okpara
Was that not knife?
You could call it knife, but they they were young men and they were idealists.
Idealistic, yeah. Well, then there is this very interesting issue about Decree 34.
Okay.
And the view generally is that, when Irosi came with Decree 34, he wanted to unite the country. Some people felt he wanted to unite the country. But the critics said what he wanted was Igbo domination. But according to what MD Yusuf asserts to you here in this book, is that Ojukwu was the one that actually lit that tinder by saying that, after Decree 34, the Igbos could now head the civil service across the country.
Let me lay down the very important facts. Decree 34 was the culmination of various things that the Igbo race, the Igbo military officers, and their civilian counterparts have done, really, to not only to make matters worse after the coup had given indication of ethnicization of the Nigerian army. For example, in Kano Central Market, they brought out the photographs of Sadauna, Ufujuku, Nzogu marching on him, and the Igbos there were saying to people, "We will deal with you as we have dealt with your leader." In army barracks, the wives of the Igbos will throw away the buckets of non-Igbo army officers' wives, say, until we finish. So much that
which barracks?
The most military barracks, particularly the one in the 9th Brigade here in Ikeja, and Co. That one was happening to the extent that people were now calling the Northern Army officers eunuchs. Yes, and they became very, very angry. So when Decree 34 was now promulgated, the people who felt really aggrieved much more than the Fulani race were the middle belters, who are the echelon of Northern Civil Service. The middle belters.
Yes.
So if what Ojukwu said, that the provinces to which Nigeria had been broken will be headed by prefects, Ojukwu said it will be the senior prefect who will go and man those provinces. In other words, and they knew that the Igbo race had the highest majority of the people in that kingdom. That was what made the middle belters to start the demonstration in Kaduna, to increase the tempo of disagreement with Igbo alleged intention to dominate and overrun all of them.
People thought that it was not the middle belters that were really angry; it was the Fulani.
No, that's what I'm saying to you. They as angry as the Fulanis was, but the people started the demonstration in Kaduna were the middle belters, because their own, the northern officers too, and one or two leaders of the middle belt, the middle belt officers look up to as leader. Brigadier Malari was one of them. The way they were slaughtered was very too bitter to swallow. So they were the ones who started. Then the Fulanis started their own. Now the Fulanis, I was in Kano, so I'm talking about what I knew. In the evening, every evening, anything after the Ashaz says praying, that's the 2 o'clock, 2 o'clock one. They were filing out towards Nasarawa area of Kano. They will be returning about 5:30 to 6 in the evening for many months. We never knew that that was why they were preparing their own onslaught to have a revenge match. And that was
so Ojukwu gave them the excuse.
He gave them the excuse.
So if Ironsi made the error with the decree, the person who actually incited was Ojukwu.
Of course he did. And let me remind you, Ojukwu did not only incite that one. The coup itself, from all that I now have, through the letter written by Dr. Nnamdi Azikiwe to
Gowon.
No, Aguiyi-Ironsi.
Okay.
You know, after the 2 meetings in Emmanuel Ifejunwa's official quarters in Apapa, the police intelligence report gave the indication that it tipped off Nnamdi Azikiwe that they were going to stage the coup. And the Nigerian titular president said he was going on medical leave. And he did not return until the coup took place. So when he returned, Ojukwu had become the military governor of Eastern region. Ojukwu now wanted to arrest Nnamdi Azikiwe, alleging him to have taken an unpaid loan mortgage, which, as he was said, he used in building the student hostel. When Azikiwe was tormented, Azikiwe now wrote a powerful letter to Aguiyi-Ironsi to save him from the hand of Ojukwu. He now related how Ojukwu came to him in 1964-65 after the general election, and he didn't win. Ojukwu came to him that he should give him support so that he could stage a coup, and he did not. He just drove him away from his side, and that Ojukwu did not stop there. He went to General Yakubu Gowon to saying that these Muslims should not be allowed to continue to roughshod over us. And Gowon
ride roughshod.
Roughshod over us. And Gowon said to him, "What? Come on, are you out of your mind? Well, we taught this one other shots while we had that training." Gowon now said he was going to report him to the British Army Chief Commander, and which Gowon did. And the British Army Commander called all of them from Lieutenant Colonel up above to the meeting and warned them that he heard that some of them were scheming to stage a coup. That if from then on there will be surveillance on all of them. They should be mindful. It was thereafter that the police intelligence report said Ojukwu initiated Emmanuel Ifejunwa to commence the process of that coup.
Now, there's also the interesting point here that the coup, that's the counter coup, was started by one Captain Maman Rimawa.
Yes.
And that the man went to, how will I say it, beat the gun.
Yes.
He beat the gun in the exercise.
Yes.
Yes, in Abeokuta, when he slaughtered all the Igbos in the in the Abeokuta.
Yes, almost 203.
Three of them. And he said they had done it. Then people like Muritala and
the coordinator, the leader of the opposing group was Muritala. So they were helpless. So
early in the morning, they just told everybody to start because the thing has already started. So
that's already started. Started. In fact, then the army of the northern officers in the second brigade, which is now the second division in Ibadan, they were already angling to kick off So when they woke up, the then Major Theophilus Yakubu Danjuma, about what has happened in Abeokuta. He was a place. He didn't go, according to him, from his official record. He didn't go to follow Hiroshi with any military uniform. He had to borrow one. When the guy, yes, he had to borrow from one of his friend officers there. And then they went with their what do you call it, grenade, and submachine gun, with which they had to go and arrest Hiroshi. And when Fajuyi challenged him, and he told him, they have come for Hiroshi. And then Fajuyi said, you can't come this way and come and take my commander-in-chief, who's my guest. Well, they say, get out of our way.
Yes.
So arrest me first. And they did. And that's how the thing from the police report, and which Yakubu Gawan, I'm sorry, Danjuna himself stated in his own biography, was off his hand because of what Remo had done. They too had to do their own thing in order to bring the thing to closure.
Now, there was this conflict between Gowon and Ojukwu. When Gowon was picked as the head of state, and Ojukwu said he couldn't work under Gowon as supreme commander because he believed he was senior to Gowon. Well, there was somebody who was much senior, who was superior to all of them, and that was Ogundipe, Brigadier Ogundipe.
Yes.
The point that was raised here is that, was it the naivety of, or the irredentism, I would say, of people like Moritala and Danjuma that blinded them to the fact that if they had at least installed Ogundipe as head of state, there might not have been the civil war?
You never can tell. For all intents and purposes, what I know to be true about Danjuma is that he remains a stickler for the convention, military ethos, military discipline, but he was not the one in charge. And come to think of it, see what has happened. At the police headquarters where all of them were lodging, where they were hiding, Ogundipe just called a sergeant.
He didn't answer him.
He didn't answer him.
That was because those people in charge didn't reckon with him. So if they reckoned with him, the battle between Gowon and Ojukwu probably would not have arisen.
That's it.
And if Ogundipe, a Yoruba man, was put in charge, even if temporarily, he probably would have averted this pogrom, turning into...
He was already even taking some measures. He had even started, he used a statement before he called on that sergeant. Who said he would not obey him. And Ogundipe saw, if
the sergeant cannot obey me, my life is in danger.
So he just found himself to the British High Commission. Yeah. And they put him on the protection and put him on the ship. So that is the thing. It is true that if they have been diligent, if they have complied with the military ethos, if there was no ethnicization
of that moment,
perhaps Nigeria could have been saved.
Of the civil war,
of the pogrom
and the civil war.
Yes.
Yes. Now let us go to another contentious part of Nigerian history that MD Yusuf told you about in this book.
Papa, sir. is your biography being written? He told me all the efforts made by many professors from the north, particularly led by Dr. Bala Usman and his team, to write a book on him. He said, ignore them. I would like to write it. He said, okay, Ayo, you have my approval. Why? He said, you behave typically like me. And even on the day of the presentation of the book at Yara, that center in Abuja, some people raised that motion, and he told them that, you see, yes, here I am, a full prince, and then general secretary of my Yoruba organization, writing my autobiography. This is to show the correlation between the Hausa people, and the Fulani people, and the Yoruba people.
Yes.
That the Fulani man is a traditionalist and monarchical. The Yoruba nation is a traditionalist and monarchical. And that we have been living in centers for several thousand of years, unlike other brothers. They don't have that. You know, the British had to create traditional rulership,
monarchy in the east,
in the Igbo land, paramount rulers.
Yeah. All right, I haven't gotten through that. Now, the issue of that is raised here was about the treasonable felony.
Okay.
From what you read from this book, MD Yusuf believes Awolowo was guilty.
It was not. I will not say that was what it said.
He implied it.
I thought that the police intelligence report clearly demonstrated that. Here was it. The old man was put on trial. He was convicted by Justice Owemima.
Yes.
On circumstantial evidence.
What were those circumstantial evidence? That
look, listen. Yes. No, listen. The judge himself said so in his sentence that, see, all your lieutenants have been alleged and found guilty of doing this one or doing that one, but you, the boss,
nothing.
But we not say
you did this or you didn't do that.
So that's why he was sentenced to 10 years imprisonment. But what will come out thereafter was that when the coup in Nigeria took place on January 15th, 1966, the coup in Ghana took place in February.
Yes.
Of 1966.
Yes.
The military, the intelligence wing of the junta in Ghana now invited the intelligence department of Nigeria to come and collect the materials of the information they had, which Nkrumah was doing with Awolowo in Nigeria. It was those classified information that gave this indication. And one or two critical things could be said here that gave indication that Guy Gomsu said SG Ikoku, Samuel Gomsu Ikoku, and Chief Anthony Nahoro were the ones who really lured Papa Awolowo into believing that the ballot box will not provide them the opportunity to govern Nigeria, given all that they have done, but that they had opportunity to start providing an alternative. Their position was reimbursed because of the relationship between Kwame Nkrumah and Awolowo. They were all together in Britain. Dankwa from Ghana, the old man, was the one always presided over their meetings. And when all of them finished their education and they returned to their country, most others had governed were governing their country. It was only Awolowo that remained.
Yes.
So he was prone to supporting Awolowo. To that extent, Eji Koku, a Marxist socialist, was very friendly with Kwame Nkrumah. So he moved over there. Thereafter, Chief Awolowo was not meeting directly nor regularly any longer with Enahoro and Eji Koku, so as not to be seen by the intelligence
that he was
they
doing
were
anything with them.
Exactly. But the money was used, that was being used was Dr. Akinola
Maja, yes.
Which unfortunately had eventually turned out to be a police informant.
Agent, yes.
So as everything that Chief Awolowo was saying to him, he was relating with the police. Let me give you an instance. They were going to import some arms,
yes,
from Ghana. They're going to put them under cola nuts. Maja was with them in Ghana when they decided that. They even paid for the vehicle, and Maja knew the number of the vehicle. The night before, the night when the thing should be loaded and they will leave, Eji Koku, who had always complained to Awolowo that he was suspicious of this Maja, and Awolowo did not believe him. Said he wanted to test the veracity of his belief. So they did not load any ammunition.
They just put cola nut.
They just put cola nut. So as soon as the vehicle entered into Nigerian territory,
they nabbed it.
They grabbed it and searched everything, and they didn't get anything. And Ikoku now called on Chief Awolowo. Did I not tell you? And you know that's why Maja was a principal prosecuting witness.
Yes, against Awolowo.
Against Awolowo. Yes. And I think he told Chief Eddie Onabamiro, Dr. Onabamiro,
who was working with him.
Was working with him. There was also another one whom I will not mention, who was a parliamentary secretary to Awolowo. And Awolowo, Chief Awolowo did not know that he was a police informant until Chief Awolowo was federal Minister of Information, of Finance. Under Gawan. They brought a voucher with a heavy sum. Papa requested to know what job the company did. He said he wanted the supporting documents that produced that voucher. It was then they found out that it was
parliamentary secretary.
A former parliamentary secretary and a woman.
And a woman.
A woman. Yeah. So that was the kind of thing that the old man suffered. He was betrayed by some close associates and lieutenants.
Now, it is also written here that in the book that Ojukwu signed a deal with what they call the Rothschild Bank of France to take over the exploration and exploitation of the oil wells in the country as part of the deal to go into Biafra. Was that why Ojukwu entered into the war without a war economy? Because you don't go to war when you don't have food. Because some people have said that Awolowo's currency cut off and the blockade of food to Biafra, created a really bad blood between the Yorubas and the Igbos. And we still find it up to today. But the question that still needs to be addressed is that why do you go to war when you don't have an economy to back the war? So it was hoping on a futuristic economy rather than an economy that he had.
That's the true matter. Ojukwu had already signed that contract, and akin to what the French had been doing in African countries. They bring their military really to back
Exploit, yeah.
to back up their own
Puppets,
surrogates and
yeah.
puppets in Africa. That was what Ojukwu was relying upon. And he was relying upon the fact that Igbos were Christians. And he got support from several Christian countries that they will come to his aid. Some of them declared their support for the Republic of Biafra, in fact and in truth.
Like France. France eventually did.
He did.
But it was too late.
Not only the Ivory Coast.
But those were countries that had no power, nothing.
Well, Switzerland did. Yeah. So,
but they gave mainly food and aid.
But the ones who had power, military and finance, was France. And France will not bring his money here until they exploited what was here. That was what they were unable to do. Because as soon as the war started, even just before the war started, remember our man here from University of Lagos here, who started the volunteer force, a student union leader, from River State, and the job guy, Adakaboro. And so when it was when the civil war, when the Ojukwu declared the Biafra, you know, Gawan government had to rehabilitate Adakaboro, and eventually it was mobilized to continue the war to liberate the core state, cross the river of Goja River, and he died in the process.
He died during the war, as recorded by Alabi Sama in his book. Yes. And the war economy itself is another issue. You know, well, on that note, we'll end this interview. We discovered that a lot of the arms were done underground.
Of course.
And if you didn't have the resources, how could you compete with the economy that had the resources? That's part of it. That the Nigerian side had more resources and more connections to get drugs. Sorry, I said drugs. Guns and ammunition underground and so on.
Ojukwu did not
plan.
No, he did not level with Igbo race. He did not tell them any truth. He told them that no army in the world will conquer the Igbo nation. He knew that he did not have anything
resources
really to compete. You know, he was banking upon another thing, that it will be difficult for the British to openly support Nigeria. And you know, throughout the war, the British did not take side officially.
Yes. But underground.
And they warned of America.
Yes.
Also,
not to take part.
Not to take part. That was why the Nigerian states, with the influence of people like Enahoro, Eji Koko, Awolowo, succeeded in getting Russia. But at that time, Union or Soviet Socialist Republic.
Soviet Union, yes, to support, to bring arms.
To bring arms.
Yes.
But even that, occasionally, when they needed ammunition, from other part of the world. They were using West African countries. No, West African countries.
They're using their passports.
Yes.
Yes.
To go and buy the ammunition.
Yeah, as if those were the countries
that needed it.
I'm sure those people were selling new, but because of the money they were going to get.
Of course, yes, they got their own courts.
Yes.
Yes. That's where the likes of Nzeribe became
wealthy.
Yeah. And he puts one of the military head of state in Ghana into trouble.
Yes.
So some of that when J.J. Rawlings came, the scandal of that gun the deal was part of the reason he advanced to put 3 or 4 of his former head of state into trouble and fire them.
Yes. Thank you very much. We have just talked on the book written by Ayo Kwadoku titled Aristocratic Rebel. Some of the very, very piquant points in the book have been discussed.
There's something that you have not thought to be important. That is critical in that book.
Yeah.
If you look at, I thought you said you were going to ask me question about Chibola Gianco.
No, that's not about this.
Okay.
It's not about this.
Okay.
It's not this book.
Okay. Now,
this book,
one of the things that you didn't talk about is the thing about Sir Ahmadu Bello, Sadana of Sokoto, and his leadership of Northern People's Congress.
Yes. How it was almost
if election were held,
disenfranchised.
If the election were held,
yes,
would never
have won an election
at all.
Yes,
and that was why NPC did not hold another convention throughout his lifetime, because people were shouting Tafawa Balewa, Tafawa Balewa. Injust.
Yes.
And then the man who presided over the Bello Dandogo, Madam Bello Dandogo presided over the thing, was shouting when people were shouting Balewa, so they drowned him for almost about 5 to 10 minutes. So he now started Sadana, and that's all.
That was all. Thank you very much.
Okay.
Yeah, so this book is Aristocratic Rebel, biography of MD Yusuf, former Inspector General of Nigeria Police, perhaps the most consequential head of police we have had in this country. I hope that the book can still be obtained in the market.
Well,
but it's a very interesting book. People should find time to look at the life of this man and all the things that he saw. It is what the police saw. That's the story. That's actually the story of this book. What the chief of police saw.
The police intelligence department.
Yes.
Was the only one, the most credible in Nigeria.
Yes.
The army never had the credible intelligence department until the Dimka school.
Yes.
So they relied on the police intelligence reports. And that's why all these information came out.
Yes. Thank you very much.